Hey, pedal people, it's a pedal guy here. How you doing? In this video, I'm going to take you through the top 5 new features found in the HeadRush Looperboard, and we're going to get started right now. Well, hey, it's Scott, the pedal guy here. How you doing? Where we're all about pedal demos, pedal knowledge, and pedal sales. I love pedals, and so do you. Now, before we get started, if this is your first visit to our channel, make sure you take a second and click on that subscribe button down there and ring that bell so you can stay up to date with all of our videos. And if you're watching this on Facebook or Instagram, be sure to like and follow us so you can stay up to date with all of our activities. Well, with the new firmware that came out from HeadRush for the Looperboard, there are so many new features found here. And in this video, I'm going to take you through the top 5. So let's go ahead and get to it. At the top of our list is the new GUI. One of the best things about the firmware update, it's like looking at a brand new pedal board again here. This Looperboard looks completely different from the original version. For example, the 3 dots in the upper right corner are gone. It's now a grid icon here in the upper left to get to all of the main functions. But when we look at things, I mean, doesn't that just look a lot better than it did before? I mean, I know that's a blank screen and everything, but we'll get to that in a second. But loading loops, loading songs, so much easier than it was before. And that really is one of the things that sets this firmware apart from the previous. Without a doubt, one of the biggest new features to come in this firmware is the inclusion of 2 brand new effects, the vocal tuner and the Rhythmic FX. Now, I've already done an extensive video on the vocal tuner, and I will leave a link in the video description below. But in the meantime, let's go to our song and let's check them out. All right, so we have our track. And I want to record a vocal line over that. So I'm going to go to the effects rack here, where I can now turn on and off the effects by using the foot switches below. I know you can't see it on the screen there, but that's what's going on. The vocal tuner, we'll go ahead and just look at this really quick. You've got your high pass filter, you've got smart tuning, harmonization, doubling, delay. Basically, it is a vocal strip. So it allows me to take something that sounds rather unremarkable. And you can hardly hear it here on this microphone, but if I turn it on, now you can hear something that sounds like this. So it's really great to create vocal harmonies that can be assigned to keys and scales. It's just really awesome. So I'll go back to the timeline here. Let's start the song playback, and then I'll record a vocal line over it. Now, one of the other effects we have is the Rhythmic effect. If I go to the effects rack here and bring it up, I've already got it assigned to track 4. We'll go in here and have a look at this. So I'm going to do a completely separate video on this, but you have your low pass filter, you have a slicer. You got a pumper. Which is like a major compressor there. You've also got your EQ, you've got delay, and you've got reverb, just like you found on the vocal tuner. But that slicer, oh my gosh. We can just do some amazing stuff with this. I'm going to keep it just with the low pass filter though, the EQ, the delay, and the reverb for now. But it's really great because it can take something that sounds like this and make it sound like this, and make it sound a lot more interesting. So those are the new effects. Another great feature in this firmware is the improved audio functionality. So let's go ahead and get to it. If I go down and look at my track here, and I want to bring in a loop to go along with the other loop here, I'm just going to go ahead and select it. From here, I can preview loops before I bring them in. That's obviously a little busy for this track, but this one's one that I really like to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and click on import, and when I do, what the HeadRush is now going to ask me is, do I want to bring it in as is? Now this is a 100 BPM loop against a 90 BPM song. Obviously that's not what we want to do. We want to match those tempos. So I'm going to have it match the BPM and bring it in. So if I start playing the other drum loop back and then mix this in, it actually works pretty well, right? If I bring the other two loops in, but here's the surprise. So if I want to speed it up, now I can assign any tempo I want once it's all imported. But listen to the quality. Listen how good the quality sounds here. There's very few artifacts in something like that, and it sounds just amazing. As we all know, when there's a new firmware, there's definitely going to be new workflow features, and that is one of the big push factors here in the new firmware for the looper board. For example, when it comes to backing tracks, you can now import MP3 files, and that's something we've been waiting for a while, so that's a big space saver in the memory. Another thing is they combine the mixer and the meter page into a single page. So if I go to the top down here and go to the mixer, it's all now in one page. Isn't this easy? I mean, look at this. You can just move everything around just like you did before. Nothing has changed as far as any of that goes. So making changes is very, very simple to do. Another great workflow feature is the ability to quickly jump back out to the timeline by simply double tapping on the function foot switch. And that'll take you right back to the timeline. Another functionality that was introduced is fading. If I go to the function window and I go to fade, I now have the ability to fade in and out individual tracks or the entire mix. And the speed of that, the rate of the fade, is determined by the fade rate buttons here, which are here on the foot switches. And I can also fade in and fade out all tracks, as I mentioned before. So let's say I want to fade in the first track, the fourth track here, which is the drum track. I can fade it in, I can fade it out, and as you saw, it changed color as it faded in from white to orange. Now, if I want to change the speed of that, say make it a bit slower, no problem. Now I can also hit the fade all tracks, and it takes that track out, but it brings the other three in. I'll bring the other one back in. I'll bring the fade rate down. And I'll fade them out. Isn't that great? And finally, the last workflow feature that I think is really cool is what I call the DEFCON 1 button. And that is the start, stop, all button. If you press and hold this, it will completely clear the timeline. So press and hold, boom, it's all gone. Last but not least, one of the other great things you can find in this new firmware is a serious step up in MIDI functionality. So let's go to our top down again, and let's go to the global settings here and go to the MIDI tab, and you can now see that there are a lot of new features or new functionality built in here. So you can now receive MIDI clock, you can send MIDI clock, you've got your MIDI offset, you've got external MIDI control. So there are so many ways that this could be useful, and I'm going to definitely do a series of videos that will dedicate some time to this. So not to worry, we'll be back on that for sure. But just in a couple of scenarios. One, you could have an external MIDI controller like a keyboard that will trigger off different effects or loops, or turn off and on different functionality within the looper board itself. So you don't always have to just worry about your feet. You can also use your keyboard to do that as well. Another thing, and this is what I've been waiting for, is the ability to sync up the effects on my HeadRush pedal board to the effects on the HeadRush looper board. I mean, that is something I've been waiting for since the looper board came out. So I'm going to say it right now, right here. Thank you, HeadRush. This is fantastic. I am so waiting. I've been just foaming at the mouth to get to this feature. So I'm going to definitely do some videos to follow this up. So not to worry, we'll get to that for sure. So that wraps up the top 5 new features found in the HeadRush Looperboard. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you soon. Well, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any further questions, be sure to visit us at thepedalguide.com. But in the meantime, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly videos and tutorials. Thanks for stopping by here at thepedalguy.com, where I love pedals and so do you.